Hello everyone. What we're going to do today is start to input the information about the loan that we're considering for this property. Before we get too far into this, I want to just let you know that what we're doing is just entering the information. We're not going to get into the strategy for determining maybe the optimum amount of the loan or the interest rate. We're not going to consider any of those issues at this point. I just want to make sure that we can all enter the information and then evaluate it later on. All right, so let's work through this right now. Let's now look at how we enter the loan information into our model. Once we do that, I just want to point out that this is where the loan information will appear in this section. But where do you enter it? Let's go down below at the bottom. This is the area where the data gets entered. The purchase price of this property is $1,400,000, and we've probably talked to a lender, and the lender has given us some basic loan qualification ratios that they want to see. One of those is a 70% loan to value, and that 70% works out to be a loan of $980,000. So $1,400,000, we can get a loan of $980,000. But they've also said this: there must be a debt coverage ratio of 1.25 or 125%. Debt coverage ratio is simply, that is take the net operating income divided by 1.25 and use the maximum debt service that this property will service is the maximum debt service is $53,571. All I did was divide it by 12, 4,464. So now the question becomes, how do we calculate the maximum loan that amount will service? Well, that's what we did earlier in Section 5, and that is done right here. If you look, here is the ratio up here. Here's the formula that we used before. I'm going to just calculate the present value of 360 payments at 6.9%, and the payments are 4,464. The maximum loan we'll qualify for is $674,410. That is it. That's the loan. It's that loan now that is automatically carried up. And I will go up and look at that. That is carried to this section here. Automatically, you see the loan amount, $674,410. This is the interest rate we talked about, 6.95%, 360 payments. What is the payment? $4,464. Because of what we need to cover later on, I've also put in the calculations of the balance of the loan at the end of each year. And this formula should look pretty familiar. All we're using is the present value formula that we talked about earlier. That's it. And I've done that all the way across. Nothing new, right? Let's go on up. Now, here is where all the loan information ended up in this section. The total of the payments at $4,400 per month, whatever that number was, that is $53,571 on a yearly basis. Same number all the way across. Okay. Now, as far as the principal pay down over the year, well, we already know how to calculate that. We calculated the balance, as I showed you just a second ago. The balance at the beginning and at the end of the year, the difference of those two is the principal pay down. Then the number that went in the interest column is the number that went in the interest column here is the difference between the total payment and the principal pay down. That's the interest here. That went all the way across. This is how you enter the loan information for any loan on the property. I might point out just one thing here. because this is going to come up later on. As you saw, $1,400,000, the maximum loan we're going to get is $674,000, which is less than 50%. I know a lot of buyers out there would say, you have to be joking. That means I'm going to end up putting a down payment in the property of another $700,000 or so. Well, yeah, that's what it means. That's what the numbers mean on this property. Always keep that in mind. Let me go back up here. We also need to talk about this other concept. It's called leverage. Is there a point where, what is the maximum loan we should put on there? Is the optimum loan at a higher loan to value, a lower loan to value? What is it? There is a way to figure that out. That's what's in the next lecture. Okay, thank you. And let's just move on to our discussion on leverage.